Hi, I'm Rick Jensen, and this is my fly tying channel. You know, here on Vancouver Island, we're very lucky to have the coastal cutthroat trout. In addition to the rainbow trout, 5 salmon species, and the steelhead, there's a lot to like about cutties. They're abundant in our coastal lakes and rivers, and even the ocean with sea-run cutthroat. And they're very willing to take the fly. But it takes a different approach to catch a cutty than what we traditionally use for rainbow trout, and a different set of flies entirely. So today's video is going to launch a mini-series at looking at what's in my cutty box and how we tie them. Let's take a look today at the Hairwing Cummings Fancy. Welcome to my fly bench. You know, one of the things I like about tying flies for cutties is they're so different from the flies we tie for BC's interior lakes and the rainbow trout there. Those flies tend to be camouflaged, tans, browns, olives, and blacks. With few exceptions, cutty flies are colorful, flashy, even what we would call Hollywood flies. One of those exceptions is a fly I tied earlier on this channel called Murray's Rolled Muddler. If you'd like to see that pattern, you click the link for the video in the upper right corner and then come back here. So let's take a look at the materials you're going to need to tie this colorful fly, the Hairwing Cummings Fancy. If you like this video, please tap that subscribe button on the bottom right of your screen. Thank you. Into my vise I have a Daiichi 2135 salmon hook in size 8. This pattern has been traditionally tied from sizes 6 through 12. And on 6 and 8 I like these salmon hooks. And on 10 through 12s I use a more traditional trout hook. These are good quality hook. I like their sharpness, their strength of the wire in the shaft. And so that's why it's my hook of preference for this pattern. Got some extra thread there. I've got to figure out why I've got it there. There it is, tag end. Okay, hard to get rid of that tag end. It wants to stick to me. Okay, we're going to go back here and we're going to attach our golden pheasant crest feathers for a tail. I'm going to select 2 small feathers for that golden pheasant crest. I use the smaller, shorter feathers for the tail and the longer ones for the overwing. And if I can select one of those feathers out right now, I will do so. Get it prepared. There we go, there's one. I like to put 2 on the tail for a little bit more substance there. And so it shows up more distinctly. There we go, we got the curve of the bend of the hook. Now we put these tails in curving upward, and I'll put them in anywhere about mid shank of the feather, and then 2 wraps, and then just pull them into position for the length I want. I want about, maybe half the hook length behind the bend. So it looks like we've got it in place there with a gentle upward curve. And I'll place the second one on there, just to give it a little bit more substance. And again, I will place that in just anywhere. Give it a single wrap, pull it a little bit, it's in place. Good, secure that in place, and then cut off my tag ends. It's got a nice, it's a stylistic thing on these flies. May not matter much, but I'm pretty sure the cutties like it. They sure like this fly. Now I bring the thread forward to tie in my silver wire. So I've got the tail in and the thread wound forward to the eye of the hook, and I'm going to be attaching my extra small silver wire, and we'll bring that in there. And I'm attaching here at the front because I don't want to build up a bulk of a knob there at the tail of the hook. I want it to be a smooth area for the mylar to cover. And so just bring that back using the wire as a ramp, bring that thread back to the tail. And I'm just watching as I get close to it that I get into the point where I tied my tails in. Now we're using holographic mylar tinsel for the body of the fly, and we're using that as the original had mylar tinsel back in the day when this pattern originated. They didn't have the holographic version. I think the intent was to mimic the silver scales on a bait fish, if indeed the cutties are taking it as that. I believe it was the intent. And the holographic mylar, I think, does an even better job of that. So here we go, wrap that forward, and you see how much sparkle and life that gives that fly. So bring that forward, completely covering the shank of the hook. Now this stuff can be quite fragile, and we know that cutties have an abundance of sharp, greedy little teeth that will shred that to pieces if it's not reinforced. Now, I like my fly to last through 3 or 4 fish, if I can find them, and if I can elicit the strikes, instead of just 1 fish, so I put on the silver ribbing as the original pattern had it. And so we'll take that silver, extra small silver wire, counterwind that forward over the mylar tinsel to reinforce it. Now you can see that's a lot of sparkle. This kind of stuff might put a rainbow trout off, but cutties love it, believe me. And we'll give that a few wraps behind and a couple in front to secure it. I've got my scissors that are dedicated to wire cutting here. I cut that off. Now we're using squirrel tail for the underwing. I want to pick some longer fibers, and not too many. We only need a sparse underwing. It doesn't have to be very bulky, but it has to have the right length. So there we go, and it's got those nice white tips on the dark fur, and I like to bring that between the bend of the hook and the end of the tail. So somewhere in there, and we'll secure that in place and give it a few solid wraps. Cut off the tag ends to clear the eye of the hook. And I like to cock those that underwing up. So what we'll do is lift it and throw a few wraps of thread in under and behind it to lift it up off the shank of the hook, so it's up around 20-30 degrees. The exact pattern was exactly 30 degrees in the day, and anywhere between 15 and 40 I think is fine, but there we go, there you have it. We want to get it off the shank of the hook to provide some profile there. So I gave the thread a ½ inch because I'm turning my vise over. I'm going to turn that over and attach our soft hackle as a beard. We again are going sparse on that. That seems to be the rule on this fly. And so we just need about 6 or 7 fibers of the soft brown hackle to tie in there as a beard. We're going to wrap that in place with catch that with a couple of loose wraps and secure it. Haven't caught it yet. I've caught part of it. We'll just try to catch a little more of it. There we go. And we've got that beard in place. Now I'm going to tidy up those ragged ends there. I missed again. I don't mind if this beard is on the slender side because that's what the pattern calls for. And make sure that's secured in place. Now I'm going to give that another ½ hitch with my fingers. Secure that because we're turning our vise over again. And we'll flip it back to the upright position and attach our overwing. Now our overwing again is golden pheasant crest in the natural and or the hot orange. I like to do both. I like the color in this pattern. So what I'll do is I'll hold my overwing in place there over the squirrel and then pinch it and then cut off the excess in front of the eye. That stiff end can get in the way of that thing sitting right on the hook. So we'll get that attached in place, secure it firmly. And there we've got that nice yellow overwing going there. And then we're going to do the same with the hot orange. We're going to hold it over the yellow one in place, cut off that bit beyond the eye, and then secure it in place with a couple of wraps, firm it up, And there we have our overwing, 2 overwings. One, now this one is oriented a bit oddly, so I'm going to try to reorient that one by undoing it just to the point I get the orange one free. And then reorient it in place. It was a bit off the side, a bit cockeyed, so I didn't like that. And so you can always fix it. There we go. Now we're getting it, and we'll hold it up in place and secure it in the position we want. There we go. We've got a beautiful set of overwings there. And now I'm just really looking at that squirrel tail, and it has wanted to lie down, so I'm going to lift the whole mass of that except for the beard and give that a couple of turns behind there to re-lift it up. Pluck a loose hair out of there, get our beard reasserted there in place, and wrap a thread in behind the beard there as well as behind the wing. Okay, we'll bring that forward and make a nice sized head on there. Give it a touch of super glue. Wrap that in place. Get that head cemented and whip finish to complete our fly. Once you've mastered the techniques here, you'll enjoy tying this fly. It gives you a little bit of color at the fly bench. You'll have a lot more fun fishing it. If you can find some sea run cutties, they're perfectly willing to take it. That's the trick, finding them when and where they're going to be. Nice colorful fly. You're going to enjoy it, and I know the cutties will take it too. Tight lines, good luck, and thank you for watching.